Sophia Giles is currently focusing on narrative illustration, mainly graphic novels and picture books. Sophia has been heavily inspired by cinema, and in particular, fantasy, myths and legends, and the underdog. More recently, Sophia has been inspired by directors such as Wes Anderson for his characters and stories, and old classic film noir movies for their lighting, close-up shots and moody atmosphere. When it comes to style, Sophia looks towards artists such as Brian Biggs for his loose, free, inky style, his moody tones and textures and awkward angles seen particularly in his graphic novel Frederick and Eloise. Kelly Besto, i.e. Moose Kleenex, influences marks and colour for Sophia's work, as well as her sad themes and surreal stories. After the influence of these artists, Sophia's style began to become her own. This piece is from a previous project, but began as an experiment with materials and eventually Sophia's basis for work. Sophia enjoys using ink and a limited colour palette, and often collages smaller images to create final pieces. Sophia begins by collecting lots of research, studying artists as well as interviews and sketching. Lots of references are used from online sources and life. Old family photos were used for the previous project. She begins to sketch out scenes and begins drawing panels to help decide final outcomes for stories. Sophia normally begins by sketching out single panels to eventually put in the final. Once drawn, the piece is inked using a 0.5 black pen. The image is then coloured in blocks, or in this case using only grey using Lepchset Pro markers. This leaves an even finish to begin working on. A colour key is often kept so the colours and shades are consistent throughout a piece. The piece is then quickly shaded and any finer details are now added with a very fine pen. An inky wash is then used to give the panel texture. This also helps give a certain effect when the line work is inked over again using ink and nibs while the page is still slightly damp. Once this is dried, details and shine is drawn back in using a white gel pen. Sophia feels this lifts the image. Panels are then collaged together to create final pages, text added and pages edited to keep consistency throughout. Sophia hopes to continue a path of storytelling, in particular to an audience of teenage and young adult readers. Sophia is currently looking more into colour and adding more texture to her work, similar to her newest influence, Emily Carroll.